So, welcome everybody on this very joyous Friday morning in the US, and then Friday afternoon and evening for all of you out there. I'm Jan Jeremias, and for over 20 years, I've combined a background in clinical research and my passion for holistic wellness to support people and their pets towards health and wellness. And I love doing that. And I try to work with each individual as they are and from where they're coming from to empower them and their pets to live healthier lives. And I'm really honored to be here with my dear friend, collaborator, friend, co-host, Mary Jane. And so, Mary Jane, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, it's as always, it's wonderful to be here. We definitely missed you last week. We were commenting on that when we were preparing for today, for sure. Um, so yes, welcome here, and I'm honored to be here with all of you, as especially with Jan, my beautiful collaborator, who just always shines brightly. And she always encourages me when I'm having those seeds of doubt that might be coming into my mind. So I am Mary Jane, and I am the founder of my own creative studio where I help my fellow entrepreneurs to step into their light and to share their gifts authentically. Um, and here we are. I guess I'm better at doing it for others. I help guide others to overcome the self-doubt, finding their voice, and creating visuals that align with their mission. Because as we know, when we connect with our true selves, we usually can connect much deeper with others. And I'm so excited for the conversation today, and I'm so happy to be here.
Wonderful. Mary Jane, did you want to share our poem for today?
Absolutely. That's if my voice doesn't decide to. I don't know why it's decided to be hoarse just now, but please forgive me if I clear my throat. It's called From Ashes to Wings. It's by Soul Cartographer. Stormy darkness wraps around her soul, a relentless battle with no calm to call her own. Self doubt sneaks in like a thief in the dead of night, stealing her peace, leaving only a hollow fright. Her mind is a weight she can't define or shake, a yearning to break free, to escape the chains that ache, to live her truth without fear of judgment's sting, to embrace her soul and let her spirit spread its wings. But the turmoil rages on, a war within her chest, a fight to be herself, to find her place in the world's mess. She searches for a haven, a place to call her own, where love and acceptance entwine, and she can be unknown. She longs to soar, to dance in the rain's wild delight, to let go of fear and let her spirit shine with all its might, to live untamed, to be truly free and alive, to let her heart beat strong with a spirit that thrives. But still she rises from the excuse me, from the ashes of her pain. With every step forward, she reclaims her name. She learns to love herself with all her flaws and might, and lets go of the doubts that once tried to hold her tight. Her strength and resilience, like a phoenix born to rise, she spreads her wings and lets her spirit touch the skies. No longer held captive by the chains of fear and doubt, she dances in the sun with tears of joy and a heart that's devout. With each breath, she finds her voice, her strength, and her way. She shines her light and lets her beauty ignite the day. She knows she's worthy of love and acceptance true, and her heart beats strong with a spirit that's new. She's free to be herself, wild and untamed, a soul on fire with a heart that's reclaimed, no longer held back by the weight of her past. She rises up and lets her spirit forever last.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mary Jane, for sharing the poem. And welcome and thank you for being here, everyone. Like Mary Jane said earlier, we are so happy um, to have you all here and that you join us each week. So we welcome you to From Ashes to Wings, a space created to explore the profound and often unexpected transformations that arise from life's challenges, changes, and turning points. This gathering is a chance to reflect on the moments when life, as we knew, shifted, whether through loss, uncertainty, transition, or quiet internal reckoning. These are the times that can leave us feeling disoriented or undone, but they can also mark the beginning of something new. The process of going from ashes to wings is not easy. It's not linear. It doesn't come with a roadmap, but it is meaningful. This journey has been called many things: the hero's journey, the phoenix process. And at its heart, it is a path of deep transformation. This process asks something of us, and it also gives something back. It asks us to slow down, to be with what's uncomfortable, to acknowledge what has been lost or shed. It may ask us to release old versions of ourselves, long held beliefs, or stories that no longer reflect who we are becoming. But it also gives something back. It offers insight, a deeper truth. It can return us to the essence of who we are with more clarity, more softness, and more strength. Sometimes it gives us wings, wings made not of escape, but of wisdom, wings that know how to rise without forgetting the ashes, wings that carry not just our pain, but our capacity to grow and to carry others too. This is a space to honor that journey. We invite you to show up as you are. There's no need or way to be here, only your way. So once again, we welcome you to this conversation, to the rising, and to the courage to share. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Such beautiful imagery that comes from picturing the phoenix rising. And I love the concept when we were discussing, today's conversation, Jan, how the conversation is like sometimes we need the falling apart to grow stronger, to lean in a little bit harder into our gifts, to trust a little bit more, to believe in ourselves. So I just really love that whole idea of falling apart to grow stronger. And I must give credit that this we were really inspired by our conversation, not last week but the week prior, where we were joined, and we one of our participants, Stephen, really kept coming to us that it's like weaving wings from the ashes. So it was just it's like, oh, here we are, the phoenix rising. That's us.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I mean, I love, I mean, I think so many of us have gone through something similar or something like this, um, where basically the ground that was beneath us felt all of a sudden like, it was like walking on uneven surfaces. It didn't feel solid anymore. The foundation upon which we maybe had counted on or thought the way things should be were all of a sudden not at all what it was. And, often times like that we are asked to, all of a sudden we feel like we've dissolved. We feel like the existence we knew no longer is exactly like we are no longer exactly who we thought we were. And we're asked to step up, um, to kind of rebuild or kind of figure out, to navigate that uneven surface and to grow and to figure out a new form of being. Not in that the other being was wrong. It is an evolution. It's a way of evolving and growing and learning. And I think that if you have that attitude of growing, um, then everything that happens to you is never one, a mistake. And two is, it gives you a reason for whatever that uncomfortableness, discomfort, the pain, um, seems worth it. Like there seems to be a purpose to that
Yeah, that's so true, right? It's kind of like I think we were speaking about the other week, was along the same line of the fact that, that our stories are here to serve a purpose, right? That we um by burning and rising from the ashes, we bring a story to people that perhaps resonates with them, when the timing is right and when it's meant for them. And I just love the whole idea of that, because I know I've mentioned it here before, is that these things happen for us and not to us, and it's like flipping that script, looking at
experience.
it from that perspective, and being willing when the timing is right to share that story with others so that they too may see that there is a way out, a way forward.
Yeah, I love that, Mary Jane, because it offers people hope,
Yes.
which I think is, kind of, I don't know. I think that for some people that word is somewhat, I think I find it triggers people.
Hmm.
Like, especially when you say just hope, like everything's gonna, but I think it does offer people when they're ready this element of hope to realize that people have overcome or taken, their lives and rebuilt, not to not honor what was, but taking in what was to create something from that and something newer, better. I'm Seamus.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, Mary Jane. Yeah, lovely topic as well. Yeah, I was just thinking like the word flaws came up in the poem, and I think we convince ourselves we're not perfect. But like, kind of, as I was thinking about like what you've been sharing and the poem and the conversation so far, like it's about we emerge from perfection, like and permanence, and this thing that's greater than ourselves, and we very quickly seem to be part of the human development process is from that perfection of birth and from perfection of maybe back to conception. The moment we're conceived, we're perfect and we emerge completely flawless and perfect. And we somehow, through our environment, whether it's our parents or guardians or friends, whatever it is, basically, we seem to develop a sense of, you mentioned it earlier, MJ, but the self-doubt emerges, like we're affected by the non-perfection of the external environment, I suppose. And yeah, I was just thinking, like, is this a necessary part of human experience? Or is there something we can do, maybe through our parents as our first initial carers, to help us realize, through their own experience and through other people's own experience, that when a child is born, that child is absolutely perfect, and the parents can create an environment or influence, and minimize the impact of that environment on the development of their newborn. So they allow them to be themselves, and I was just simply thinking about, like, in being I belong, just as I am, and somehow we lose that, like, from the moment we're born. So if parents were somehow set up to better appreciate the the pure perfection of how we are when we're born, and to try and sustain that, and not, I suppose, in a way that's kind of going to isolate that young person from the external world that they've entered into, that we perceive at least around us, but in a way that's going to arm them and let them remain connected as much as possible, or find that blend of their own, realizing their own perfection in a world that is challenging and difficult, and enable them and support them and guide them to retain the connection to that beautiful perfection they maintain as they develop and grow in an external world, I guess. And I suppose that's the opportunity and the challenge maybe for parents, is to how do you set up that environment for to nurture and grow your young people to be the best possible version of themselves they can be, I suppose.
As yeah, I love that, Seamus. But as you say it, like the thing that like was coming to me as you were talking is, if we go to the parents, then, you know, not in a negative way, but it's coming from people, and I'm not saying we don't go to the parents, but it's coming from individuals who maybe haven't explored that yet. So how do we reach the parents? Because you're asking them possibly to travel in an area that they've never possibly gone before. And not that we shouldn't, I think it's a beautiful thing to invite, because we've got to start there. But I look at, a personal experience, I look at my parents, and my parents always did, I think, everything with the, I mean, I really do believe they did everything with the best intention for me. But they are flawed beings. Like, as far as like they're human beings, they're not flawed, they are perfect, but they're perfect in their imperfection. And that's, what Mary Jane actually said that to me yesterday. Mary Jane, there you are. You're perfectly imperfect. And so, it's like, how do we, just a question for everybody, like, how do we do that? Because we're coming with, people who come, like I said, with my parents, they had their own like sort of agendas, their own fears, their own anxieties, their own, let's say, stuff. And they did the best they knew how with, like, let's say, whatever they had. And I think that's and so how do you it's almost like you instill it in the child. I don't know. I'm trying to grasp the words, because I'm sitting and playing with this in my head of like, how do we do that? I mean, because at least in the US, it's not done in school by any means. And almost probably by school age, it might be, too late. Um, so, it's not happening there. And maybe it's, happening at home. And one of the things that I often kind of sit with is, years ago, that extended family, which was very strong. So even if it wasn't the parents, grandparents were involved. So it was multi-generational in the form of like multiple generations kind of nurtured a child. It wasn't only left up to the parents. There were multiple people involved. And so maybe one aspect wasn't sort of concentrated or sort of told to the child or reinforced, but that might come from a different individual. And so altogether created an environment of, let's say, care for that newborn. And I'm really struck by it, because actually my niece just had a baby on Saturday. So as we're speaking, I'm thinking her and my new great niece, Michaela. So I'm like thinking about it in my head as as you mentioned it.
Yeah, for me, it's a multi-generational evolution, Jan, I suppose. You know what I mean? And maybe the current way that like young people, babies grow, mature, and develop, maybe that's just the way it is. But I suppose suggesting here is the tweaking or a tuning or a learning of how we can learn from past experience to, from when we reflect as adults, at how we could, tweak things and make adjustments to what we feel for our own experience could benefit the development and the journey, I suppose, and the story of newborn kids and, new parents. And, with, I suppose, every parent and every person has to learn, maybe a combination of learning through their own experience, learn the hard way through your own mistakes. but also put in place the guide rails, let's say, from, elders' experience around, well, this didn't work very well in my own experience, and maybe this is something I can, invite my children to integrate into how they raise my grandchildren, type of thing. So that's kind of how I see this maybe playing out. It's in practical terms, like, and again, what you just shared there is maybe a very practical way of you, maybe through conversations with your family, not directing, but opening up a conversation, I suppose, about the development and growth of the new baby, basically.
Yeah, good point. But I do think I love that idea of like we both just shared of like multi-generational or just multi-generational, multicultural. I think that there's just so many avenues, and I love this idea of like, sharing in the fact that this didn't work for me and just allowing them to have that knowledge within themselves and then basically giving them the opportunity to try it out for themselves if they whatever they do, um to be able to, like, you broach the topic or that invitation, and then they get to decide. So it's not like you're placing beliefs on them. It's more a sharing and more like a joint kind of process than it is like, I want to say my way or the highway kind of attitude.
It goes back to Otto Scharmer. I think it's coming like it's a dialogue and respectful, mutually respectful dialogue that emerges. So you're not directing, but you're opening a conversation in a respectful way that isn't intended to direct, but like intended to maybe to get curious and to kind of see a perspective that mightn't have been being mightn't have been accessible before. So I think that's what Otto Scharmer often talks about in presencing, like, and in dialogue. It's the whole idea of respectfully kind of cultivating access to a perspective that was concealed from one reason or another. And that's, I think, the process a process that, I'm trying to describe here, I suppose, that you were kind of articulating around as well.
Interesting. I have to look at that book. Um because that is an interesting, but it is, I love the idea of a dialogue or a conversation. Um because the conversation and and I think that you've said many times, Seamus, and others have shared, because then in the conversation, then there's a conscious choice. Like there's a choice, there's the opportunity for choice. You get to make a choice. It's not like the decision is already preordained, so to speak. And depending on when we grew up, I think, our parents all have agendas for us, and not in a bad way, but they have their ideas of how they want our lives to be, or they hope them to be. And we all know we all want to please. So as kids, there's this, we want, for many of us, it's like you want to do what's expected or what, your parents want for you. You want that approval. And so we follow, or we at least follow for a little while until we realize that it's not what we want. And then we wake up one day and realize that, hopefully, or many of us do. And then we go on and about for what we, for pursuing our dreams. But maybe we need to do both, maybe we need to do that. I don't really believe that anything I ever did was a waste at all. Which just was a part of the process of the evolution of me.
Absolutely, Jan. And I know this is a while back of the conversation, but I was thinking, yeah, about what you were saying about the word hope, how people have learned to, because it is learned, it's like to imply that hope is just a fruitless action. But it really isn't action. Hope is that feeling. But the thing is leaning into the belief, believing that all will be well, all is meant as it's meant to be. And pertaining to what you and Seamus were just talking about, I thought, oh, I was listening and I thought, oh, I'm going to pull a card because I thought this seemed like an appropriate time and I'd like to share it if that's all right with you. Um, it's of course from the Raise Your Vibration Oracle deck, and this one is Truth is My Teacher. And it sort of speaks to some of the things that you were just speaking about, the two of you. It says, before you were in this life, before you were in this body, you chose to come to earth. Not everything was set out for you, but you did set the intention that you would leave this world in a better state than you found it in. This is why, ever since you were young, you've searched for meaning and wanted to understand the greater mystery of life. It's why you've spent time asking big questions, developing your intuition, and opening up to the universe in your spiritual practice. Everything that you have done and experienced in your lifetime has led you to where you are now. This moment is crucial. You may be wondering where you go from here. With this card, the universe is inviting you to simply embody your truth. Your truth is who you are at your core. Let that truth rise up and out for the world to see, and then you'll remember why you are here. And the vibe of the day is, I let my truth reveal my purpose. But the imagery of rising up, it's recurring again and again, even in this card. So I loved it.
Absolutely. Rising up. Um, yeah, it's interesting that, this idea of like, one is we make the choice to come and, if you kind of go with that, we can make the choice to come and to, and to come into existence. That is my, that it is an evolutionary process. So there is a plan, but there really is this whole idea of like we don't know what it's going to be. All we do know is that we come, hopefully, I believe all of us anyway here have come to, you know, hopefully we feel to leave the world better than the way the way it was before we got here in some way. And I think that speaks to like we each want to come with our, having an impact, having something we've shared that comes from, like you said, Mary Jane, that story, that unique experience that we have. And because of that, each one of us, like, it's always slightly different. It's none of us is going to create the same thing. Based on that experience and that existence. Like it's just that it cannot be duplicatable. We're each necessary in that process.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love that, the perspective. It's just like, as it was sharing earlier, it's just like telling our story, sharing our story. It's often it's a tool for healing ourselves, but it can also be a wonderful opportunity or an invitation for somebody else to use it as a tool for their own personal healing or leading them forward on the journey to healing, whatever that may be.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that when we speak to this whole idea of what we're speaking about today, um, rising from the ashes, that how common it is that we have an experience, and you could label it as just as um, some sort of something that happens to you that is, could be devastating, could be minor. But then you take that and how often we make that sort of the, how we go out and we change and we improve the world, that it becomes our, not only the ashes, it almost becomes the fuel upon which we navigate the world and we make change in the world. It's our way of, being able to make that change and being able to impact on a greater level. And we can do that because we come from that personal experience. We come from that idea of what we've been through. And in that way, we do make that change. And there is this feeling of like, how often somebody has an experience, a trauma, a mishap, something, and then they go on and they spend the rest of their lives um, incorporating that into the way they leave some sort of legacy or some sort of impact on the world. Probably, I don't know the percentage, but I would assume just in my world, like in the world that of people that I see, that that's very high. Al, did you want to please, or Mary Jane first, and
No, no,
then
no,
go
no. It's just interesting. As you were speaking, Jan, I literally, I don't know who was visiting, but somebody was visiting. Um, a cardinal actually landed on my windowsill and was actually looking in the window at me. So somebody was visiting and listening too. So I love that.
Me too. Love it. But I think it's very true. I mean, so many people I know. I mean, we all, I think, here do things because of what we've been through and our own experiences. And then we take we took that into our being. We made it a part of who we are. We changed and evolved because of it. And then we go out in the world and we share it with other people in some form with what we do, or maybe it's the direct conversation, but we are using it in some way. Al?
This week I got two acronyms, ashes and wings. So basically, ashes, as what we say, the H is actually in the middle. Actually represents our heart. When we are no longer in the world. So basically, we are allowing the softening of the heart, earthly soil. So the ashes are go deeply into the soil. So when we are buried down there and all that, so basically from the ashes, then when we rise up again, becomes angels and all that. So we become a wonderfully incredible new generational shift. So Siemens were talking about multi-generation. So when we become an angel and we're up there, so we have really evolved into a new generation. So basically, we are up there. So this is a very short one for me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Al. Please pop it in the chat so we have it. Missed that acronym last week. It's like, I need an acronym for my week. But thank you. Love that. Um, yeah, I do like what you shared about multi-generational. I mean, because, I think that we have to look at it too in that impact is that, when we change or when we evolve in some way, that each person that we then encounter, basically gets sort of a new form of us. And in that way, maybe we erase trauma experiences of our past or of our ancestors. And we have a healing that happens not only in our own being, but, you know, in past generations. Zara, did you want to share something?
Yeah, I did. And I love how the topic is really about, I guess, generational trauma. That's kind of like, I might have missed a couple of minutes here and there, but I agree with you that we do tend to feel this pain that once we have an answer to how we've managed to overcome it, we want to share it with other people so they don't suffer. Something I was doing, and I thought everyone can just copy me and just get on with it. But what I didn't understand was, like, not everyone had the same strengths as me. I was like, well, I was forced to be an all-rounder at school, right? I was forced to pass 17 exams in a year, 3 times a year. So if I hated geography, if I hated history, if I hated all these things, then yeah, you guys can just get over it. I was like taking that approach without realizing that not everyone had had that kind of training over the years. So I was getting really frustrated with people going, why don't you just get on with it? But what I realized was everyone was really lonely over COVID. And I put myself out there and I said, right, I'll be your friend. And I was the one who was sharing authentically. Most of LinkedIn was posting about leadership and all sorts of stuff. People were looking for jobs and jobs weren't there. And it got to the point I couldn't cope with the demand, literally. And I thought, okay, I had to take some time off and go, how else can I go about it? And it wasn't until I sat down, I thought, okay, everyone has their unique strengths. There's things we want to naturally do, not forced to do because we think we have to do it. But if we all club together and people, offer to do what they want to do and then learn something from each other, and we start to grow as a team, my strength is what I believe is storytelling and getting people to feel what I feel. So I thought, what I want to do is share my stories in the group of ladies supporting ladies and then have the recordings for the men, for the group of men supporting men. And then I don't have to be there personally. So no one needs to be my friend. And then they can get to know each other. And then eventually, when everyone's got a friend, then we can come together and learn this properly. Because there's that whole Maslow's triangle, right? Where we all want to feel connected, we all want to feel heard. That's one of the basic human needs, really. And if you look at LinkedIn, like we get the people who are posting like every day, sometimes 10 times a day, 3 times a day. And then everyone's just commenting on their posts and everyone's running around like a headless chicken again. Like, why can't we? Why can't we get together as human beings and learn from each other as opposed to this all what I see on LinkedIn? So, yeah, I do feel that pain of working 17 hours a day, like commenting, being in some kind of marketing pod, trying it out, but it didn't fit in with my life. So, I think we are sharing our lessons learned, not just from how we didn't belong, right? But I want to help people understand why the parents couldn't connect with us, right? And I want to help people understand how they can connect with their kids. So we don't have to carry this on generation after generation. But it's really tricky to get people to listen. So, guys, if you have any other suggestions apart from having a fun networking session where everyone can come and learn a little bit, I'd love to hear your ideas. Please give me a shout because I'm kind of going 5 years of trying it. How else are we going to do this? I'm ready to hear your ideas. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Oh, thank you, Zara. Um, but one of the things when you were speaking, yes, I think that, we speak and we tell our story. And depending on, what we've experienced, and we base what we're telling obviously on our own experience and what we've gone through. But we have to remember that two people don't experience the same thing identically at all. That we can go through the same experience and somebody else's experience of it can be vastly different, maybe some similar in some ways. But because we're different people, we're not affected the same way by similar circumstances. And we can relate to each other and we can sort of like, we can try to help each other and sort of that's what we all do. But I think, I had to step back and realize one is that they're not me and they are not experiencing this the same way. And like I said, when Seamus and I were talking about it, becomes much more of an offering of tools, like a suggestion. That's why I like the idea of a toolbox. It's like you offer people tools, and then basically, I mean, it sounds like kind of like non-committal in a way, but it's not because I think we each need to figure out sort of our own path and what works for us, you know, and what works for us at different times of our lives. And so it can't be like, oh, well, this is what you do. Um, and if you follow this, it's going to work, necessarily. I mean, I think you offer people options, and maybe that's not, seems very kind of, I don't know. And I'm such a process oriented person in general that maybe that's why I was kind of like, well, how does that work if you're a process-oriented person? But you have to encourage people to what Seamus talked about in the beginning. You have to encourage kids and children to kind of figure out their own process.
I hear you, Jan. However, what happens when people have become conditioned to do something else rather than like what comes naturally to them? And there is a process to shortcut all that stuff, and that's what I'm sharing. It's not like this is the highway, my way, or the highway. It's like, okay,
No, I
these are the
understand.
different uniquenesses, and these paths work for those uniquenesses. And of that, yeah, there'll be different purposes that people will want to follow, or they might want to, some people might like to do it through traveling, other people might want to do it through art, other people, we'll all
Right.
have a niche of some sort, right? But it's like not everyone's going to be a good storyteller, not everyone's going to be a great teacher, not everyone's going to be, we have these certain gifts, and we're able to highlight what those gifts are, as opposed to let me try this, let me try this, let me see if this works, let me see if that works. I don't know if that makes
No, no,
sense.
no.
Is it?
No, no, absolutely. And I believe, yes, we each have our own gifts. Like, don't get me wrong, that wasn't what I was saying. I think that, no, my big thing is, yes, we have our own gifts to share, but we've also got to leave space for people and encourage people to kind of do a little bit of experimentation and figuring out on their own. And that's the space to me that we create. It's like, we come with whatever, whether it's a group of people or yeah, specifically, yeah, I think it's a great thing to come with a group of people because I think each brings a different perspective and a different sort of way of framing things, and also maybe a different tool or gift that they kind of come to the table with. But then we've got to leave space for that person to kind of like pick and choose, kind of like they are there, to pick and choose what resonates with them and what works for them. So, it's kind of a combination of both, I think is really what we're saying.
Yeah, true. That's definitely true. It's finding out like who are we, right? Who are we? And then understanding like what gives me energy. Like for instance, the other day I was asked to coordinate something. Okay, it took me a whole week. And you know what? I spent 3 years in project management. And prior to that, I'd spent 7 years in IT security. It was pure admin. And I was great at it, don't get me wrong, but there were times when I was ill. I didn't understand why I was getting ill so much. Um, you know, the flip side of that was that when I was working over COVID, doing what I wanted to do, and I was doing 17 hours a day, I wasn't ill. So I was like, there's something in that. There is something in that I wasn't really listening to my body. I was like, okay, that's the job I'm good at. That's what I'm going to do. That's what's going to pay for my bills. But given a choice now, I'm like, I never want to do coordinating again. I mean, that was a horrible week, I don't want to do that again. But there will be people who will love doing that. That's what I mean. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yes, and I think that that's, when you surround yourselves with a group of people, um, in a group, you each work to your gifts and what you not only what you're gifted at, but hopefully what you're gifted at is what you like to do. Um, and then you share from that space, and I think that that's a beautiful way to live. I think my tendency is to shy away now from like these terms of like this is the solution for you. Like those words kind of make me pause now. Maybe it's from being bombarded with so many different people who think they have, of like, I can solve this problem for you in like, in 10 steps kind of attitude. And
Oh, no, no, that's not what we do at all. Because
yeah,
it's about
exactly.
it's about understanding who you are intrinsically, like what drives us. That's it. And then we kind of step away and people figure out, it's like they have their path after that, as opposed to trying a bit of this, trying a bit of that. Like I did project management and admin 10 years. Imagine I knew this information before. I don't know if I'd listened back then, but if I could go back into, I don't know how many years ago, like way before my son was born, like, what if I take him to do what I do now? Yeah, like, where would I be? Right? As opposed to, oh, no, I better go into university, better do this, better get a degree. I need to get in IT. I need to do this. I need to be in project management because we're told, okay, because you're analytical, that's what you'll be good at. Yeah, but am I going to get energy from this? Is that my how? Is that my intrinsic how? It isn't. Like, what's my soul energy want to do? Right? My soul energy wants people to feel what I feel. Right? I'm not going to shut up. You can't tell me to be quiet. If anyone tries to tell me to be quiet, if I'm upset, like I'll turn the house upside down, try and stop me. Like I could be an absolute nightmare, right? And it's understanding people to that level to go, okay, like she's upset right now. This isn't personal, right? She's upset about something, right? And my husband understanding that has really helped him get on with me better, like since we've known this information. Because before he used to take this personally and he'd be like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you saying this to me? Are you why are you having a go at me? Whereas now he's like, okay. And I understand that he can't stand that. So I'll come upstairs. I'm like, guys, I'm feeling a bit upset right now. I need to go lie down for about 5-10 minutes. Let me sit with this feeling until, I get over it. And then I'll come down and then I can be more logical with you guys. And it's understanding that is what it's not a solution, it's a dissolve. And it's helping relationships get better. That's why I want to really get this. It's not so much about the jobs, it's about relationships. I want mums and children to have a closer net relationship. I want parents, husbands and wives to have that closer relationships. So when we bring up the second generation, we don't talk about generational trauma again. Yeah.
Yes, I love that and the fact that it's all about relationships. Um, and James had put something in the comments, which I think is really to me was like this is is for people to observe like what feels right to me. And I think allowing people to have that space to be able to explore that and then giving them tools so they can articulate it, not in a not in a hostile way by any means, just as a way of like you shared, Zara, like this is what I need, you know, and then I'm happy to come out and, but I need this space. Basically, what you need is space, and you need space to feel what you're going to feel. And and then once you come and you've had that time, then you can come out and say, okay, I've had that time to kind of be with this. And now I'm ready to communicate, or I've kind of like, or do whatever you're going to do from there. But you need that opportunity. And for other people, maybe they want another person there to like, not to do anything, but just to hold space for them. Just to have someone else to hold space while they vent and they talk about what's going on, not with the agenda of having anybody fix or do anything, but just so that they are allowed to express that which is going on. And people do that. Maybe some people do that at different stages, of a conversation. Some people need that right away. It's kind of like they need to get rid of that energy. It's kind of like, I need to just tell you what's up, like what happened.
That would be the perceivers. That, but when I get like that, Jan, I'm like a volcano. No one wants to be around me if I'm upset, honestly. So I'm better off being on my own. I know that now. And I
Right.
used to do this in Iran, actually. I used to do this in Iran. I used to go all quiet. But like when you're working and you're busy and everyone expects stuff from you and there's no stop, like you just put up with it, put up with it, put up with it. And then the moment you have some quiet time, either you get ill or like suddenly all these feelings come to surface. And it's literally like a volcano that's about to erupt.
Mhm.
And that's what we kind of faced over COVID. And so I started writing a lot. Now I was crying a lot. I was expressing myself until I was over it. But like if I ever spoke to my mom, she'd be like, "Oh, you're being over dramatic again. Shut up, be quiet. Oh, I haven't got energy for this. I can't listen to this. Like, leave me alone." She just put the phone down. And I was like, "Why is she doing this?" But my mum never understood my uniqueness. Get it? Like she
Yeah.
couldn't handle it. She couldn't handle it. But if she didn't take it personally, I wonder like how we would have been. And I want other mums to have that nice relationship. I want the daughters to know, okay, maybe mum can't handle me right now. You know, just because we think this is okay doesn't mean other people find that acceptable. And maybe then we start talking about being another. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think I learned a long time ago that, for, my parents, it was different. They couldn't handle it. And it took me a long time to realize that about them. Like they just weren't equipped, let's say, to be able to have conversations like that. And it took a long time. One is for me to share it, and two, for them to get to a space where they could. But even now, I mean, I see it, not so much with myself, but with other things that, with my mom. And I'll see it. And I kind of honor that about her. Like and realize that to her, like that's not within her capacity at the moment. And not in a bad way, not in the fact of like, oh my gosh, my mom's this horrible person, but it's almost like my mom feels so much she can't handle it. And I think I've realized that about it is she takes it so much in that in a way she kind of disconnects. And I've learned that too, but that's, taken a long time to come to those places. And I mean, I have an amazing relationship with my mother now, but that took like, my mom's 89 and I'm in my 60s and that didn't happen, necessarily easily and happened over time, over many years of like of work, like any relationship.
Yeah, my relationship with my mum only got better when my son was born because my son's a complete opposite of me. When we talk about this intangible, I don't want you to get technical, but he's kind of more like he's more practical. He likes to highlight things. He's a joker. Whereas I'm more about the touchy-feely stuff. Like he was more kind of, oh, let's have some fun. Let me chase you. Let's have a game. And he kind of brought the child out of my mum. And so we spend quite a lot of time together just playing childish type games. But the moment like he grew up a little bit or we had COVID, I started to see that relationship slip again. And we started going back to Zara, be quiet, okay, and I'll go away, like, okay, I'm busy right now, or whatever. And it wasn't only until after I understood all this model of the mind and brain and, her uniqueness, my son's uniqueness, I thought all that makes sense. Like my entire life made sense after that point. And so it was like, okay, it's such a shame. Just we're not trained on this to start with. Like, even when you have a car, right? You have a driving test, for goodness sake. Like, they make sure that you know how to drive the car. Yeah. But it's almost anyone has a license to have a kid, and off you go, just get on with it, right? And then we go through the school system, which is very stringent, and we're all busy, right? And without having that guidance and that's this, this is not about typecasting because I used to hate the typecasting, especially after coming from Iran, going, right, this isn't right. I don't want to put people in boxes. But we do have certain strengths and we have certain weaknesses. Now, we can call them gifts and we can call them flaws. Sometimes our flaws can become our greatest asset. However, sometimes also, depending on who we're mixing with, it doesn't go down that well. And we can't choose who we give birth to, and we can't choose like who we're born to. It's just like we're expected to get on with it. And sometimes it takes 60 years, like you say, and sometimes people like me like find out way after it's too late. And I don't have any regrets actually, because I know I can share that story. It's a painful story, but when people hear it, they'll be like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. Like, I don't want that ending. And I think that's when it's really going to resonate. But I'm not quite ready to tell that story yet. There's a little bit of an ending waiting to unravel. And yeah, but I know it's for a reason. And it will help many people once they get that message. Because otherwise, it's like we get comfortable with our pain. We're like, yeah, that's fine. That's just how it is. That's how it's been. But it doesn't have to be. It can be different. Like you say, if we make that choice. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you, Zara.
So beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to ask you, Mayor Jane, or anybody else. But feel free to share.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here and sharing your beautiful stories and for having the courage to rise from the ashes, as we all have again and again. And it's funny, since being on here was today that a friend was reminding me that today is 8/8, which is supposed to be an amazing manifestation portal. So it's a Lionsgate portal. So, and she was saying, so today's the day to ask and to manifest the things, from, dreaming into being. So I think that's a really good way to look at the of what we were talking about today about manifesting the things in our life, that we really want to share. And Jan, I just know that you're going to bring this all to a beautiful conclusion with your meditation. I'm so looking forward to that.
Oh, thank you, Mary Jane. And thank you, everybody, for this very powerful conversation.
Jan, before we go any far, can we welcome Zara, please, which I've invited from LinkedIn. He used to go on to all the voice things, and he was missing them because they disappeared. And I said, well, you need to come to Jan. So I need you to come to Jan's session because Zara's server. So I need to say, I need you. Yeah.
Okay. Welcome. We're really happy you're here. We hold these every Friday. So at the same time. So
Yep.
to have
9 a.m. Eastern time. So whatever that is for you, but welcome.
I saw, thank you so much. It's like 1900 hours of my time. I'm from Pakistan.
welcome.
Yeah, and like I was listening everyone here for like 5 minutes now. I was a little late. And thank you, Zara, for inviting me here. And actually, when you guys were like talking, it reflected me a few things. Even here on this part of the world, when let's take an example, when those veterans and their wives, uh, they go up in a group to a doctor's appointment, and they all sit together when, for example, Zara is inside for her doctor's appointment, but the rest four of you guys, okay, you are waiting for your turn. So what they do here, ladies, the veterans, the retired veterans and their wives and their doctors and their wives and people from different, occupations, what they do, they sit there waiting for their turn, but not just waiting for their turn. They start discussing about their life, what they have been through. Most of the ladies, that mindset of having that mindset where they discuss about their pains, what they have been through. And the other day, I was like witnessing this from my own eyes when I was in a hospital, and five of those ladies, they were like sitting all together, and they started talking about their challenges instead of like one of them was like quiet. And when she started talking, I was like sitting next, not next, but I can hear them. They were talking in Punjabi language. She shifted the paradigm. She started talking about like how, no matter, she didn't talk about the pains. She reflected back on her healthy relationship, no matter whatever the pains she had been through. But she said she was very happy with whatever life has given her. And she was thanking Lord for everything to have anything in life. I mean, that paradigm, that way. Love is a promise, I understand, a commitment. It's not about like we just choosing support each other through the good times, but also through bad times, right? Um, it's about working through those tough times together. No matter what challenges come your way, we we have to keep up these relationships, whether that relationship with your husband, mother, brother, Anybody, you have to be caring person from the start, not just when I said something and you're upset with me, you say me, come back to me and say, hey, I don't love you. It's not like that. You can't just switch your feelings on or off. If love was only based on feelings, no relationship would survive. I mean, so thank you, ladies, for bringing me up here. And I think it's a beautiful session, and we should have more of these sessions. And thank you, Zara. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, same as Chan and everybody for having me here. I'm Zara Ijaz. What I do, I teach people over 50 plus the basic Urdu language, and especially across US, UK, and EU, and help them understand the Pakistani cultural intelligence so that they can sell their services here in Pakistan, because we have a huge institutes and organizations. So that's me, Zara Rijal. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for sharing, Zarar, and thank you. It's so nice to have you here. We're really excited that you've joined us today, and we hope we see you back. So we're going to move into a few moments of meditation. And so take a moment, find a comfortable position, seated or lying down, whatever allows your body to feel supported and your breath to flow freely. Allow your eyes to close gently or soften your gaze if that's what you'd prefer. Bring your awareness to the natural rhythm of your breath. No need to change it, just notice the inhale and the exhale. With each breath, let yourself settle just a little bit more into this moment. Feel the support beneath you. Feel the quiet around you. You are safe to be here. Take a moment now to bring your awareness to your heart. Even place your hands on your heart if you choose. Imagine your breath flowing in and out from this space. With each inhale, a gentle opening. With each exhale, a soft release. Now imagine yourself standing at the edge of a quiet clearing. Before you is a small smoldering fire. Warm, steady. This fire represents all that has been released. Old stories, outgrown versions of yourself, pain, confusion, loss, transformed into ash. You don't need to revisit the details. Simply acknowledge what has been let go. What life has invited you to surrender. Honor the ash. And now within that ash, something stirs. A spark, a flicker, a presence that has always been within you, waiting for the space to rise. From this stillness, from this quiet warmth, a new form begins to take shape. It may come as an image, a feeling, a color, a word. It may come as nothing at all, only presence. Whatever appears or doesn't is perfect. This is your rising, your becoming. Not forced, not rushed, just revealed. What qualities are returning to you now? What wisdom, what strength, what softness has emerged from your process? In this moment, you are held by all the parts of yourself. The one who endured, the one who released, the one who is ready to soar. Take a few breaths here, feeling into the fullness of this moment. The ashes behind you, the wings unfolding. And when you're ready, begin to bring your awareness back to the room. Feel free to wiggle fingers and toes, move gently. Feel the surface beneath you. And carry with you whatever insight, image, or feeling arose. And when it feels right, gently open your eyes and let your wings unfurl. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We appreciate each and every one of you being here. We will be back next Friday. All of these sessions and some other spotlights and everything are on our YouTube channel, so feel free to take a look for that. And if you feel so inclined, feel free to share any of the recordings, like, comment. We appreciate that. Mary Jane and I have 3 workshops coming up in the fall, and so that's very exciting. I think they're all Saturdays, actually, so 3 Saturdays in the fall. And then we actually have 1 in-person workshop coming up. Yes, we're going to be together for the first time.
We're so excited, in case you couldn't tell by the glee in Jan's voice.
Exactly. We are. So if you want to go to Canada, or if you're in Canada,
Yay!
feel free to join us.
Yes, please come. But yes, thank you all for being here, and wishing you many blessings as you head into the rest of your day and this weekend. And we look forward to, well, I say seeing you, but I guess listen to hear you next week.
I find myself saying that a lot, seeing you.
Yes, of course, because I feel like I'm seeing them even if I'm only hearing. I don't know why.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I love it. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, everybody.